There is a good chance you have done this. You fall asleep easily. And then, somewhere around 3 in the morning, you are suddenly completely awake, staring at the ceiling, certain something is wrong with you. Here is what almost no one will tell you. For thousands of years, that was not a problem. It was scheduled. Humans used to sleep in 2 separate shifts every night, with an hour of quiet waking built into the middle. On purpose. We didn't lose that sleep to stress, or screens, or caffeine. We lost it to a single invention. Tonight, we go looking for the sleep we forgot we had. The story starts with a historian named Roger Kirch, who spent years reading the ordinary paperwork of pre-industrial life. Diaries, medical texts, court depositions, prayers, poems. And a phrase kept appearing that made no sense to a modern reader. First sleep. As in, she woke after her first sleep. He read a while between his first and second sleep. Kirch found hundreds of these references across centuries and languages. They were all describing the same thing, and describing it casually, the way we might mention breakfast, as something everyone simply did. People went to bed not long after dark. They slept for a few hours. They woke around midnight, and then, for an hour or two, they were quietly awake in the dark before a second sleep carried them to morning. So what did people do in that midnight hour? Almost everything gentle you can imagine. They prayed. There were prayers written specifically for the wakeful hour. They talked quietly with whoever shared the bed. Some rose to tend a fire, check on animals, or simply sit with their own thoughts in the deepest quiet of the day. It was not restless. It was not insomnia. It was one of the calmest, most private hours a person had. A pocket of stillness that the modern day has almost entirely erased for a long time. This was just history, intriguing but unprovable. Then, in the early 1990s, a psychiatrist named Thomas Weir ran an experiment that turned the diaries into biology. He took a group of people and, for a month, gave them long nights. 14 hours of darkness each evening, roughly what a human would have had in winter before artificial light. At first, they slept in one long, exhausted block, but after a few weeks, something remarkable happened. Their sleep split in 2. They would sleep for several hours, wake naturally for 1 to 2 hours of calm, and then sleep again until morning. Their bodies, given real darkness, rebuilt the exact pattern Kirch had found in the old books. And in that waking gap, their brains were flooded with prolactin, a hormone linked to deep calm. A state one researcher compared to quiet meditation. The 2-sleep night was not a cultural habit. It was waiting inside us the whole time. So what happened? In a word, light. As artificial light spread, first gas, then the electric bulb in the 1880s, the evening stopped ending at sunset. People stayed up later and later. The night shrank, and the long, dark 14-hour night that produced 2 sleeps was compressed into a short, bright one that demanded a single unbroken block. Within a couple of generations, the very idea of first and second sleep vanished so completely that when people started waking at midnight in the new shortened nights, they had no word for it anymore. So they reached for the only word left: a disorder, a problem, insomnia. Here's the part that turns this from history into something you could test on yourself. In 2013, a sleep researcher named Kenneth Wright took a group of modern people, phones, laptops, all of it, and sent them camping for a week. No artificial light of any kind after sunset. Just firelight, and then true dark. Within days, something in their bodies quietly rearranged itself. Their internal clocks synchronized almost exactly with the actual sunset and sunrise outside their tents. Their melatonin, the hormone that signals to the body that night has arrived, began rising nearly 2 hours earlier than it had back home under electric light. And by every account, they were sleeping more soundly than they had in years. Nobody handed them a diary from the 1600s. Nobody told them about first sleep and second sleep. Their bodies simply did, within a week, what Ekirch found in the old records and what Ware found in the sleep lab. The moment the modern light disappeared, the old pattern was still sitting there, ready to switch back on. This is why the two-sleep night isn't really a lost habit, in the way a fashion or a custom gets lost. It's closer to a language you were born fluent in and simply stopped speaking. The words didn't disappear. You just haven't needed them in a very long time. And you don't need a week in the wilderness to hear it again. Researchers who study this point to something much smaller. A few nights of genuinely dim, warm light after sunset. No screens, no overhead bulbs, just candlelight or lamplight is often enough for the body to start leaning back toward its older rhythm. Not a full return to the two-sleep night, but a loosening, a door left slightly ajar, which brings us back to that moment at 3 a.m, wide awake, certain something has gone wrong. Here is the thought to take to bed with you. If you wake in the small hours and cannot get straight back to sleep, it is entirely possible that nothing is wrong with you at all. You may be doing something profoundly old, slipping for an hour into a gap your ancestors would have recognized instantly and used gently. The panic we feel in that hour, the checking of the clock, the certainty that we have ruined tomorrow, may do more harm than the waking ever could. So, the next time it happens, try treating it the way they did. Don't fight it. Don't reach for the bright screen that shortened the night in the first place. Lie in the dark. Let your mind wander. Trust that the second sleep is coming. It usually is. If that gave you something to think about, this is what this channel does. We sit with the questions your mind asks in the dark. See you in the next one.